Hello everybody, I'm rhinociart. Are you sick of people telling you you tall can't cook? Well, I'm here to tell you that you tall can. You will need game, Tolkien content of various types. Silmarillion and Hobbit content are optional. Tooting of your own horn. So many wiki deep dives. Queer content of various types. I like the non-binary ones. 4 liters or 1 gallon of loving spouse juice. At least 4 references to tea. Multiple 2 a.m. plotting sessions. The furious desire to uproot political systems that rely on blind faith. And 1 egg. Stir ingredients together 1,000 words at a time. Cook for 4 months of pandemic quarantine. And post twice a week for over a year. And remember, adding shit posts to each bite is a task you can only delegate to yourself. Hello everybody, I'm rhinociart, and apparently I'm doing skits now. Allow me to explain what the heck is going on. So back in July, I did some cover art for a really cute Lord of the Rings fic that my partner B wrote, and the problem with her being quite good at writing and always knowing how to hit me directly in the feels is that after reading her story, I was like, what if we make more though? The two of us actually met through writing fanfiction, so we thought it might be kind of a fun idea to see if we were even able to write something together. Turns out the answer is yes, and if you ask how, it's very efficiently. Over the 3.5 months we did of quarantine here in Nova Scotia, we ended up writing 200,000 words of Lord of the Rings fanfiction, which is frankly the largest anything I've ever made in my life. We've actually been posting it for a little while now, but since we're finally past the prologue stage and we're getting into the meat of the story, I decided it was high time I made cover art for this fic too, and so here we are. As with my last movie poster-ish looking image, I wanted to use more symbolism than straight up character imagery. Without giving too much away, this fic is about dismantling the authoritarian and discriminatory systems of the afterlife, kinda? I'm telling you, we go big or we go home. There's no in between. So the imagery I wanted to go with was one where Legolas was standing in the shadow of this huge deity and going, hey, what the butt? As you can tell, I spent a really long time trying to get his face right. I chose a very difficult top-down angle, and also I was trying to do maybe semi-realistic features, and so it was a lot of trial and error. I'm not even sure the face that I ended up with has anything to do with the face that I initially sketched at all. I frigged around with his arms a lot too, and I'm still not entirely sure they're right. But for the sake of getting this done, I figured I'll just leave them as they are, and then in the future I'll practice this angle more. As you guys have probably gleaned, I'm not really a person for thumbnails, but in this case I did want to give myself a sort of layout for what I was going to be drawing. Because the shadow was not an actual full detailed drawing of a character, I wanted to kind of lay out where it would be, and then I put these red blocks in to mark where I was going to have the text. I wanted a general idea of what the layout of the whole poster was going to look like before I really committed to doing my line art and getting everything colored. I did find during this process, and in general with drawing, that sometimes you just gotta let it go for a couple hours or a day, or ask somebody else to look at it before you can really figure out what needs fixing. I actually let this sit for like a week or something before I came back to it, so we got it now, I guess. I initially tried blending out all the coloring but decided I didn't really like the soft look of it. I wanted this to look intense, and I wanted really to do justice to that sort of semi-realistic face he had going on. So I actually went with a similar coloring style to what I did with my recent Aloy drawing, where I put in all kinds of different colors of shading, but I didn't blend anything at all. It's just the lines of color. I find this has a really neat effect, and when you're looking at the image from far away, it looks like I did some really intense, really clean shading, but then you get up close and it kind of looks like Legolas has been roughed up a little. It almost looks like scarring or damage on his face, which it kind of works in this scenario. There's a lot to be said about how to draw a silhouette, and I'm no expert, but I did try to keep in mind with this godly figure that you needed to have an idea of what you were looking at, so I tried to make his beard a little bit more opaque and then have, ears sticking out, like a very clear sort of profile that still looked monstrously huge. Most of the drawing after this point was a lot of shade and luminosity and overlay layers. I was using a lot of reds and purples and blues, trying to keep a similar color tone to the whole image, but also give it a lot of contrast. I also had a bit of a struggle making it look like Legolas was in the shadow of this thing, but also visible, because he's wearing a lot of dark clothes and because the color palette of the entire image is sort of a dark red purple. I wanted to make sure he wasn't totally obscured. That's why there's a patch of light kind of in behind him, and why his face and the gold bead in his hair are highlighted. That's also an important plot thing, so I wanted to make sure it had a little bit of foreground exposure. In order to do the text, I jumped over to Clip Studio Paint, made some text on a blank image, erased the background, saved it as a PNG, and then uploaded it into Sai, wherein it was just considered an image and not text, so I was able to lock the layer and then change all the colors and play around with the size and the orientation.
Bea and I are both super excited about this fic, and I've been having a lot of fun making shit posts for it. I know Lord of the Rings isn't everybody's thing, and honestly it wasn't even our thing until we watched the movies during quarantine and for some reason got really into the lore. But we tried to make this fic really accessible. We did a lot of wiki deep diving and a lot of condensing stuff and making it as simple to understand as possible. So if you guys are just looking for like a cool adventure story about taking down the system and you got some time to kill, feel free to check it out. I'll pop the link in the description. Beyond that, thank you so much for watching. If you guys like this, please let me know with a like or a comment or whatever. And if you'd like to hang out and see more of this kind of stuff in the future, feel free to Stubbs Doobie, and I will see you in the next video. Okay, bye!
Seriously, they tell me I can't cook. Great first! Stir everything. Everything? Oh god, it's so cold. Stir your words. Stir your words.